The air hangs so thick you could taste the salt and tar in it. A heavy, wet blanket clinging to the back of your throat. Below, dark water sighs and slaps against mossy pilings. A tired, rhythmic sound that's been the soundtrack to this city for 100 years. A lone lantern sways on a distant mast, its light a sickly yellow smear in the oppressive Charleston humidity, catching the iridescent wings of 1,000 mosquitoes dancing in its halo. From the shadows comes the splintering crack of a crate being pried open, followed by a low, guttural curse. It's a sound that promises either treasure or trouble, and tonight, they're one and the same. This is a story about the moment that promised sours. It's about a fisherman named Deirdre O'Brien, a woman who knew the tides better than she knew her own heart, and the night she traded everything she had for a chest full of glittering lies. It's a tale of how a single, blinding moment of greed at a shipyard auction can become an anchor, dragging you down into the murky depths where old grudges and new enemies wait. And here's a little reality check for you. The most valuable treasures aren't the ones that glitter. They're the ones you don't realize you have until you've already gambled them away for a chest of worthless rock. This ain't a pirate fantasy where you sail off into the sunset. For most people in this story, the sun has already set. So if you're ready for that, get comfortable. Before we dive in, maybe take a quick second to hit that like button and subscribe, but really, only if this is your kind of thing. No pressure at all. I'd love to know where in the world you're listening from tonight and what time it is for you. Go on and drop it in the comments. All right, dim the lights, maybe pour yourself something cool to drink, and let's slip back in time together. Let's drift into the shadows of Charleston's treacherous docks. The splintered wood of the pier groans under your worn leather boots. Each step is a careful negotiation with rot and loose nails. You, Deirdre O'Brien, D to the very few you trust, are a creature of this place. The stink of low tide, of fish guts and bilge water, is as familiar to you as the calluses on your palms. It's a smell of hard work and meager survival. But tonight, another scent hangs in the air, sharp and intoxicating beneath the decay: fear. And its close cousin, greed. You pull your rough-spun coat a little tighter, the damp wool doing little against the humid chill that seeps in from the Cooper River. You're heading for a place you shouldn't be, to do something you know is foolish. You trudge past skeletal hulls of ships resting in their muddy graves, their masts like accusing fingers pointing at a sky full of indifferent stars. The usual sounds of the shipyard are muted, replaced by hushed whispers and the rustle of unseen things in the overgrown grass lining the docks. This is the clandestine part of Charleston, the one that doesn't show up in the pamphlets for new settlers. This is where fortunes are made, and lives are lost in the flicker of a lantern. Your destination is the old sail loft, a vast, barn-like structure at the very edge of the shipyard, its windows boarded up tight. Light spills from a single crack in the heavy side door, a sliver of gold in the darkness. You slip inside, and the air changes instantly. The damp chill is replaced by a stifling, close heat, thick with the smell of unwashed bodies, stale rum, and hot metal. The cavernous room is packed, a motley collection of humanity illuminated by a dozen smoky lanterns. You see the glint of pistols tucked into belts, the hard, empty eyes of men who have seen too much on the high seas, and the pinched, calculating faces of merchants willing to deal with them. This is no place for a fisherman. But you're not just here for the auction. You're here because of the auctioneer. On a raised platform made of stacked shipping crates stands Christopher Moody. He's a big man, florid and sweating in the heat, with a smile that could charm a snake out of its skin. His voice, a booming baritone, cuts through the low murmur of the crowd. To them, he's just a man with something to sell. To you, he's your cousin. The generous, larger-than-life Christopher, who always had a sweet for you when you were a girl, and who, after your parents were lost to the fever, made sure you had the coin to buy your first little fishing skiff. His eyes, surprisingly sharp and quick for such a jovial face, scan the crowd and find you. He gives a tiny, almost imperceptible nod, a private acknowledgement that both reassures you and ties a knot in your stomach. "Gentlemen and ladies," he booms, his eyes flicking for a moment to a shadowed corner. You follow his gaze, and your blood runs a little colder. Leaning against a post, looking as out of place as a songbird in a slaughterhouse, is Bridget O'Malley. Biddy, with her fiery red hair tied back in a simple knot, and her deceptively friendly smile, she looks more like the stable hand she's supposed to be than a player in this dangerous game. But you know better. You've known Biddy since you were both children, and you know that behind that creative, easygoing charm is a mind that is always, always plotting. She's your opposite in every way. Where you are spontaneous, she is calculating. Where you are direct, she is devious. Her being here is a very, very bad sign. She catches you looking, and her smile widens, giving you a little wave as if you'd just bumped into each other at the market. That friendly gesture feels more like a threat than any snarled curse from the pirates around you. Christopher claps his hands together, drawing all attention back to him. Tonight, my friends, we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. A prize wrested from a Spanish galleon, a king's ransom for the brave soul willing to claim it. Quote, with a theatrical flourish, two burly men heave a heavy, iron-strapped chest onto the platform. Christopher throws back the lid. A collective gasp sucks the air from the room. It's overflowing. A cascade of coins, goblets, and rough-hewn ingots glitters and dances in the lantern light, throwing fractured reflections across the greedy faces of the crowd. It's a pirate's dream, a merchant's salvation, a fisherman's escape. It's almost too perfect. You narrow your eyes. You're no expert on precious metals, but you've spent your life looking at the way light plays on water, on the scales of a fish, on the rim of a tin cup. Something about this glitter feels wrong. It's too bright, too brassy. It doesn't have the deep, warm glow you'd expect. It's a shallow, sharp sort of shine. A whisper of doubt. Cold and unwelcome, snakes into your mind. We'll start the bidding at 500 pounds, Christopher yells, and the frenzy begins. A merchant in a sweat-stained silk coat shouts, 600! A pirate with a face like a roadmap of knife fights counters with, 7! Quote, the numbers climb, fast and furious. The air crackles with tension. You stay silent, your hand resting on the small, heavy pouch of coins tied to your belt. Every shilling you've saved over 10 years of mending nets and hauling catches before dawn. It's your future. Your dream of a bigger boat, maybe even a small cottage away from this wretched dock. It's not enough. Not even close. You watch the price soar past 1,000 pounds, then 1,200. It's a fool's game. You should leave. Then you feel a presence beside you. It's Biddy. Quite a haul, isn't it, Dee? She says, her voice a low, friendly murmur. A shame to let it go to that pig-faced merchant, isn't it? A fisherman like you work so hard, you deserve a little luck. Her words are like sparks on dry tinder. She's right. You do work hard. You do deserve it. You look at the gold, then back at Biddy's encouraging smile. You see your cousin Christopher looking your way, his expression expectant. Is he counting on you? Is this why he told you about the auction? 1,500! Bellows the scarred pirate, his hand resting on the hilt of his cutlass. The room goes quiet. The merchant shakes his head and backs away. The bidding has stalled. Going once, Christopher calls out, his eyes sweeping the room. Your heart is hammering against your ribs. It's now or never. All your savings, everything. It's an insane risk, but the image of Biddy's smug face if you walk away empty-handed, the thought of another decade of breaking your back for pennies, it's too much. 1,600! The voice is yours, but it sounds thin and reedy in the sudden silence. Every eye in the room swivels to you. The scarred pirate turns his head slowly, his eyes boring into you with pure malice. Biddy's friendly smile is gone, replaced by a flicker of something. Surprise? Or satisfaction? Christopher's professional grin doesn't falter, but you think you see a flash of panic in his eyes before he masks it. 1,600 from the lady fisherman. Do I hear 17? Silence. The pirate just stares at you, a low growl rumbling in his chest. Going once. Christopher's voice is faster now. Going twice. He looks at the pirate, who just spits on the floor. Sold! To Deirdre O'Brien for 1,600 pounds. A wave of dizziness washes over you. You did it. You actually did it. A nervous, giddy laugh escapes your lips. You push through the crowd, your hands trembling as you untie your pouch and dump the mountain of coins onto the crate. The pirate watches every move, his expression promising a very painful meeting in a dark alley later. Christopher gives you a strained, hearty pat on the back. The luck of the O'Briens, eh, cousin? He whispers, avoiding your gaze. Best be on your way, quickly. His urgency finally cuts through your elation. You nod, your mouth dry. You lean over the chest to your chest and plunge your hands into the glittering pile. The triumph vanishes in an instant, replaced by a cold, sickening dread. It feels all wrong. The coins are too light, the edges too sharp. They don't have the satisfying heavy smoothness of real gold. You snatch up one of the larger ingots. It's absurdly light for its size. Your eyes dart around the room. The other bidders are already dispersing, grumbling. The scarred pirate is gone. Biddy O'Malley is nowhere to be seen. With a shaking hand, you pull a small iron nail from your coat pocket, one you use for mending lobster pots. You find a dark corner of the ingot and scratch. It doesn't leave a golden streak. The brassy surface flakes away, revealing a greenish-black, crumbly rock beneath. It powders under the pressure of the nail, turning to worthless dust. Iron pyrite, fool's gold. The room seems to tilt. The weight of what you've done crashes down on you. 1,600 pounds. Your entire life's savings. Gone. For a chest of glittering, worthless rock. You look up at your cousin Christopher, who is already directing his men to clear the platform, his back turned squarely to you, and, in that horrifying, silent moment, you understand. This wasn't a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It was a setup. And you, Deirdre O'Brien, were the fool. The blood drains from your face, leaving your skin feeling cold and tight. The sound of the bustling room recedes into a dull, distant roar, like the sea heard from inside a seashell. All you can hear is the frantic, panicked thumping of your own heart. All you can see is the dull, ugly gash of black rock beneath the glittering lie. Iron pyrite. Fool's gold. The name itself is a mocking laugh echoing in the hollow space where your future used to be. You stumble back a step, your hand flying to your mouth to stifle a choked gasp. Your gaze snaps up, searching for your cousin. Christopher is across the vast room, his back to you, clapping a departing merchant on the shoulder with a booming laugh that sounds utterly false to your ears now. He's avoiding you. He's purposefully, deliberately not looking in your direction. The two burly men who heaved the chest onto the platform are gone, vanished, as if they were never there. The crowd is dissolving, not with the sullen anger of gamblers who lost, but with the quiet purpose of actors leaving a stage after the curtain has fallen. They drift out into the night in twos and threes, their hushed conversations dying the moment they pass you, their eyes sliding away from yours, refusing to meet your desperate, questioning gaze. It hits you then, a wave of ice water washing through your veins. This wasn't an auction. It was a performance. And you weren't the winning bidder. You were the audience, the mark, the punchline to a joke you were the last to understand. A hot, furious energy surges through you, momentarily overwhelming the cold dread. You shove the worthless ingot into your coat pocket and march across the filthy floor, your boots kicking up dust motes that dance like tiny ghosts in the lantern light. The few remaining men, hard-faced and silent, step aside for you, their faces impassive masks. "Christopher!" Your voice comes out as a harsh croak. He freezes for a second, his wide shoulders tensing. He turns slowly, that practiced, charming smile already spreading across his face, but it doesn't reach his eyes. His eyes are the eyes of a trapped animal. "Dee! There you are, cousin. A fine bit of business, eh? Told you your luck was in." You get right up to him, so close you can smell the stale rum on his breath and the sweat of fear beading on his upper lip. You don't raise your voice. You keep it low, a blade honed by pure, distilled rage. "Don't you cousin me, you son of a bitch." His smile falters. "Now, Dee, that's no way to talk. It's a rough trade, you know that. Sometimes a prize isn't what it seems. Buyer beware, that's the rule of the docks." Quote, "The rule of the docks?" You hiss, pulling the scratched ingot from your pocket and shoving it under his nose. The gash in its side is a damning wound. "Is this the rule of the docks? To pass off a chest of rock as Spanish treasure? To cheat your own blood out of every last shilling she has in the world?" Christopher's florid face pales. He glances nervously over his shoulder. The last of the bidders are slipping out the door, leaving just you, him, and the heavy, mocking presence of the chest. "Keep your voice down," he mutters, grabbing your arm. His grip is surprisingly strong, his jovial softness gone, replaced by a wiry tension. You rip your arm away from him. "Why? So your friends don't hear? Where'd they all go in such a hurry, Christopher? Where's the pirate with the scarred face? The one who bid me up to the last pound?" Quote, He was an unhappy loser. Best he left," Christopher stammers, his eyes darting everywhere but at you. "He wasn't a loser. you say, the pieces clicking into place with sickening clarity. He was a shill. He knew exactly how much I had, didn't he? He drove the price right up to my limit and then stopped. He was your dog, there to herd the sheep to slaughter. You take a step back, the full, ugly tapestry of the deception revealing itself. And Biddy O'Malley, what was her part in this play? The friendly, stable hand, whispering in my ear that I deserved it. Was she the one who told you I'd be here? The one who told you what I was worth? Quote, at the mention of Biddy's name, a genuine flash of fear crosses his face. He looks not like a swindler, but like a man caught in a machine much larger and more dangerous than himself. You leave Biddy out of this. You don't know what you're talking about, Dee. This is bigger than you think. Quote, it was my life savings, you finally scream, the sound echoing in the cavernous, empty loft. It was 10 years of my life in that pouch. 10 years of frozen hands and aching backs and smelling of fish guts day and night. It was my way out. And what was I supposed to do? He snarls back, his voice a desperate, ragged whisper. He takes a step toward you, his face contorted. You think I wanted this? They came to me. They had the chess, they had the plan. They needed a believable face, a local auctioneer people might just trust. They made me an offer, Dee. The kind of offer you don't refuse if you value your kneecaps. Quote, the raw terror in his voice chills you more than his deception. This wasn't just his scheme. He was a pawn, same as you. A more willing pawn, perhaps, but a pawn nonetheless. Who, Christopher? Who are they? You don't want to know, he says, shaking his head. He looks 10 years older than he did an hour ago. The less you know, the better. Just take your loss, Dee. Grieve for your money and forget this night ever happened. For your own good. My own good? You let out a laugh, but it's a brittle, broken sound. I have nothing left. My cottage, my boat. The payments are due. I'm ruined. What's left for them to take? Quote, he looks at the chest of fool's gold, then back at you, and his expression is a miserable cocktail of pity and fear. Your life, cousin. They'll take your life. If you make a fuss, if you go to the magistrate, if you so much as breathe a word of this to anyone, that scarred man you mentioned, he wasn't just an actor. He's the one they send to tie up loose ends. The money's gone. It was out of my hands before you even finished counting it out. It's their money now. Just go home, please. The finality in his voice is like a door slamming shut. The betrayal is absolute, a chasm that has opened between you. This isn't the generous cousin who bought you sweets and helped you start your life. This is a stranger. A weak, terrified man who sold you out to save his own skin. You stand there in the silence, the lantern light flickering over the rolling sea of glittering garbage in the open chest. It's a monument to your own stupidity, your spontaneity, your pride, your trust. He and Biddy and their scarred friend had played upon it all like a fiddle. You had walked into their slaughterhouse willingly, convinced it was a palace. Slowly, you turn your back on Christopher. You don't say another word. There's nothing left to say. You walk toward the door, your steps feeling heavy, as if you're wading through the dark, viscous water of the Cooper River itself. You don't look back at him. You don't look back at the chest. You step out of the stifling heat of the sail loft and back into the humid Charleston night. The air feels different now. The familiar smells of salt and tar are laced with the bitter tang of deceit. The sigh of the water against the pilings no longer sounds tired. It sounds mournful. You stand on the edge of the pier, the worthless, scratched ingot still clutched in your hand. The cold metal is a solid, tangible reminder of the invisible net that has just been thrown over you. The dizziness and shock begin to recede, burned away by the cold fire of a new emotion. It's not despair. It's not grief. It's rage. A deep, quiet, and patient rage. They think you're a fool, a simple fisherman, easily tricked and easily silenced. They think you'll scurry home and weep over your lost coins. They've taken everything from you, leaving you with nothing. And in that, they have made a terrible, terrible mistake. A person with nothing is a person with nothing left to lose. The sun has set on your old life, it's true. But as you stare out into the darkness, you realize something else. The night is just beginning. You don't move for a long time. The humid air, which only an hour ago felt alive with possibility, now seems to press down on you, trying to suffocate you, to force you to your knees. Your whole body is a single taut wire of fury. The image of Christopher's terrified face, of Biddy's sly, knowing smile, of the pirate's dead eyes. They burned behind your own. They saw you as a mark, a spontaneous, funny fisherman, friendly and trusting, and, ultimately, a fool. Someone whose life could be casually dismantled for their own gain. Your knuckles are white where you grip the lump of pyrite. You could throw it. You could hurl it into the black water of the Cooper and let it sink, a fitting grave for your hopes. But you don't. To let it go would be to accept the loss, to admit defeat. And every fiber of your being rebels against that. Spontaneous, yes. But they mistook that for being thoughtless. Funny, sure. But they failed to see the sharp, observant mind behind the jokes. Friendly, always. But they have just discovered the limits of that friendship. Slowly, deliberately, you shove the fool's gold back into your coat pocket. The weight of it is no longer a burden. It's a whetstone. It is the thing you will use to sharpen your rage into a weapon. You turn away from the water and look back toward the sail loft. Its dark, hulking silhouette is a crime scene. And you were the only victim they bothered to leave behind. Christopher's plea echoes in your mind. Go home. Forget this ever happened. It was a warning, but it was also a dare. They are counting on your fear. They are counting on you to break. A grim smile touches your lips, one that holds no humor at all. You are already broken. And a broken thing has no reason to be careful. You slip back along the pier, a shadow among shadows. The main door to the loft is closed and likely barred. You circle around the side, your boots silent on the packed earth. Your fisherman's eyes, accustomed to spotting the faint glimmer of scales in murky water, scan the rough planked walls. You find what you're looking for. A shuttered window, its latch rusted and loose. You pull the iron nail from your pocket, the same one that revealed the first lie, and work it into the gap. It takes a full minute of patient, frustrating work, your muscles screaming in protest. But at last, the latch gives with a soft metallic sigh. You pry the shutter open just enough to squeeze through. You drop to the floor inside, landing with a practiced quietness. The loft is nearly dark now, lit by a single, forgotten lantern burning low in the center of the vast space. It casts long, distorted shadows that writhe and twist like tormented spirits. The air is still and stale. They are all gone. Christopher, the shills, the scarred man, everyone. Everyone but you. And there it is, the chest. Sitting alone on the makeshift stage, its lid still thrown open, the mountain of fake gold gleaming faintly, mockingly, in the dying light. It looks pathetic now, a child's fantasy of treasure. The sheer scale of the deception is breathtaking. It wasn't just a few gilded rocks. It was an entire chest, painstakingly filled. So much effort. Too much effort for a mere 1,600 pounds. Even for a desperate man like Christopher, the risk seems to outweigh the reward. The conspiracy feels too large, too orchestrated. Christopher said they made him an offer. Who are they? And why go to all this trouble to fleece a single fisherman? The question hangs in the dusty air. It doesn't make sense. Unless the money wasn't the point. Your heart gives a sudden, hard kick against your ribs. Christopher's terror. Biddy's presence. The speed with which everyone vanished. It wasn't a getaway. It was a handover. They didn't care about the bidders. They cared about the buyer. They needed one person, one unsuspecting fool, to officially take possession of the lot. They needed you. You approach the chest, your boots echoing in the emptiness. You no longer see a symbol of your ruin. You see a puzzle box. You run your calloused fingers over the iron straps, the salt-pitted wood. You've seen chests like this before, pulled from wrecks or traded on the docks. This one is old, Spanish, by the ironwork. The wood is teak, dark and heavy, resilient against the sea. You lean in closer, your nose an inch from the surface, and inhale. Beneath the dust and the faint, metallic tang of the pyrite, there is something else, the scent of canvas and tar and old rope. The smell of a ship. You ignore the glittering trash and begin to systematically empty the chest, scooping the worthless coins and ingots onto the floor with a series of dull, clattering thuds. Soon, it is empty. You run your hands along the inside, feeling for loose panels, for the telltale hollow sound of a false bottom. Nothing. It is solid, well-made teak. Frustration bites at you. You are about to turn away when your fingers brush against the bottom. It isn't bare wood. It's lined with a piece of heavy, oil-stained canvas. A scrap of old sailcloth, most likely, tacked down to keep the contents from scraping the wood. It's a common enough feature, but as you trace its edge, you feel something wrong. The stitching. You lean into the chest, holding the lantern closer. The thread used to tack the canvas down is different in one corner. The stitches are smaller, tighter, and the thread itself has a faint silvery sheen, unlike the rough brown twine used elsewhere. It's the kind of meticulous needlework a sailmaker would use for a precision repair, not for something as crude as lining a box. With trembling fingers, you use the tip of your iron nail to pry up one of the tiny stitches. The thread is incredibly strong. You work your way around the small patch, your breath held tight in your chest. The canvas peels back, revealing not a hidden compartment, but more of the same dark teak beneath. For a moment, bitter disappointment washes over you. You were wrong. But then you look at the scrap of canvas in your hand. It's stiff with age and grime. You turn it over. The underside is a maze of lines and symbols, sewn into the fabric with that same silvery thread. It's not a drawing. It's a chart. A star chart. You recognize the constellations immediately. The Hunter, the Serpent, the Great Bear. The same celestial guides you've used to navigate the coastal waters your entire life. But here, they are twisted into an unfamiliar configuration, with lines of longitude and latitude stitched between them, forming a path. And at the end of that path, marked by a crudely stitched X, is a name you've only ever heard in drunken stories told by old sailors. A name that makes the blood in your veins run cold. Isla de los Huesos, the Isle of Bones, the legendary, undiscovered resting place of the pirate Blackheart Bill and his horde. A story, a myth. But this chart, this tangible thing in your hands, feels very, very real. The pyrite wasn't the treasure. It was the wrapping paper. It was the distraction, the glittering lie designed to make one person, the right person, the fool, focus on the gold so they would overlook the true prize. The scam wasn't about stealing your 1,600 pounds. It was about buying this map with your money. Biddy, Christopher, the scarred man, they couldn't just steal the chest from whoever owned it. That would bring the law, the magistrate, too much attention. So they engineered an auction. They created a scenario where the chest and the map hidden within it was legally transferred to a pawn. To you. Now all they have to do is wait for you to go home and then take it from you in the dead of night, where no one will hear you scream. Your 1,600 pounds was the payment for their own prize. You stare at the star-sewn canvas, the web of deceit laid bare. You see Biddy's path now with chilling clarity. She, a simple, stable hand, couldn't afford to bid. She couldn't risk being seen showing interest. So she found another way. She used your ambition, your pride, your trust in your cousin. She nudged you into the slaughter pen, knowing you'd be the perfect, unsuspecting mule to carry the treasure out for her. The weight in your pocket feels different now. The pyrite ingot is not just a reminder of your loss. It's a piece of the puzzle, it's evidence, it's leverage. You carefully fold the sailcloth map and tuck it deep inside your coat. You stand up, your decision made. Christopher's warning about the scarred man echoes again, but the fear is gone, replaced by a cold, sharp-edged clarity. To go home now is a death sentence. To go to the magistrate is a death sentence. Your old life is over. The cottage, the boat, they are ghosts. The only path forward is the one stitched in silver thread on this scrap of canvas. They think the game is over. They think they've won. But they left the prize in the hands of a woman who knows the stars and the sea better than they know their own greed. They left it with a woman who has nothing left to lose. You are no longer the fool. You are the only person in Charleston who knows where the real treasure is. And as you slip back out the window and melt into the oppressive darkness of the shipyard, you are no longer the hunted. You are the hunter. And your first prey is the friendly, stable hand, with the fiery red hair and the devious smile. You are going to find Biddy O'Malley. Finding Biddy O'Malley is a simple thought, but the path to her is a tangled mess of dark alleys and darker secrets. You can't just march up to the stables where she works. That's the face she presents to the world. The friendly, creative girl with a knack for horses. The real Biddy, the one who orchestrated your ruin, exists in the shadows. To find her, you have to go into the shadows yourself. You force your legs to move, leaving the lonely pier behind. Every instinct screams at you to run to your cottage, to bar the door and hide under your thin blanket. But Christopher's terror-filled words echo in your head. That scarred man. He's the one they send to tie up loose ends. Your cottage isn't a sanctuary. It's a trap. a baited hook waiting for you to bite. So you turn in the opposite direction, away from the familiar, sparse comforts of your own neighborhood. You head deeper into the belly of Charleston's port, toward a district the locals call the Gut. It's a place you've only ever skirted the edges of, a knot of winding streets and leaning buildings where the city's laws fray and unravel. The air grows thicker here, heavy with the stench of cheap gin, unwashed bodies, and despair. This is where pirates and smugglers and deserters come to drown their ghosts or find new sins. It's the last place on earth you ever wanted to be, which makes it the perfect place to hide. Your destination is a tavern whose faded sign, creaking on rusty hinges, proclaims it the Kraken's Arms. A more honest name would be the Drowned Rat. You push open the heavy, water-warped door and step inside. The roar of a dozen loud, drunken conversations hits you like a physical blow. The place is a pit, choked with smoke from clay pipes and reeking of spilled rum. Lamplight, thick and yellow, illuminates a gallery of hard-bitten faces. Every man and woman here looks like they have a story they'd kill to protect. You feel 100 pairs of eyes slide over you, assess you, and dismiss you. A woman alone. A fisherman by the look of your clothes. Pray. You move toward the bar, keeping your head down, your shoulders hunched, trying to make yourself smaller. You need a drink. Something to steady the tremor in your hands. But more than that, you need to listen. Information is the currency here, and you are destitute. You lean against the sticky, scarred wood of the bar, nursing a cup of watery ale you can't afford, and you open your ears. You filter out the boastful lies and the maudlin sea shanties, listening for a name. Biddy. Christopher. Anything. Then you see him. Across the room, half hidden in the gloom of a back booth, is the scarred pirate from the auction. Your blood turns to ice. He's not drinking, he's working. He has a skinny, terrified-looking man pinned against the wall, one meaty forearm pressed against his throat. The pirate's voice is a low, deadly rumble, too quiet to hear the words, but his meaning is perfectly clear. His face, that roadmap of old violence, is inches from the other man's. He isn't asking questions, he's taking answers. After a moment, the pinned man nods frantically, his eyes wide with terror. The pirate releases him, and the man scrambles away, disappearing into the crowd like a rabbit bolting for cover. The scarred man remains in the booth, perfectly still, his gaze sweeping the room. He's a patient predator. His eyes pass over you, and for a terrifying second, you think you see a flicker of recognition. You immediately turn your head, focusing on a crack in the wooden bar, your heart hammering a frantic rhythm against your ribs. You study the splintered grain of the wood, with an intensity you'd normally reserve for a coming storm front. You feel his gaze linger, then move on. He doesn't know you, not yet. But he will. The moment they realize the map is gone, he'll be given your name and your face. You have hours at best. When you dare to look again, he is gone. The sheer predatory violence of the encounter leaves you shaken. This is their world. This is what they do to people who get in their way. Christopher wasn't exaggerating. He was trying to save your life. Your ale tastes like bile. You know you can't do this alone. You are a fisherman, skilled in reading the water and the wind, not the treacherous currents of men's hearts. You need a pilot. And you think you know who to ask. There are stories on the docks, whispers about a man named Silas Croft, a man who sees everything. They say he lost an eye to a Spanish cannonball and his soul to the devil for the price of knowing every secret in Charleston. You find the barmaid, a woman with a weary face and tired eyes, and slide your half-full cup of ale toward her. For your trouble, you say, your voice steadier than you feel. I'm looking for Silas Croft. Quote. She glances at the ale, then at you. Her expression is a mixture of pity and contempt. Everyone's looking for Silas, she says, her voice flat. He's in the back, by the hearth. Don't expect a warm welcome. And don't say I sent you. You nod your thanks and navigate the crowded room. The back corner is the darkest part of the tavern, dominated by a cold, stone hearth. A lone figure sits in a high-backed chair, shrouded in shadow. As you approach, a single, piercing blue eye fixes on you. The other eye socket is a puckered, empty ruin. This is him. He's ancient, his face a leathery landscape of wrinkles, his hands gnarled and twisted like old driftwood. Go away, he rasps, his voice like stones grinding together. I'm not buying, selling, or saving anyone tonight. Quote, I'm not asking to be saved, you say, stopping a few feet from his chair. I need information. Quote. He gives a dry, rattling chuckle. So does everyone. Information costs. By the look of you, you've got nothing but the smell of mackerel and bad decisions. Quote. His good eye scans you from your worn boots to your frayed collar. You feel stripped bare, every ounce of your fear and desperation laid out for his inspection. This is the moment. Your intuition, the gut feeling that has saved you from squalls and hidden reefs, tells you that honesty, a specific, carefully measured honesty, is your only play. Bluffing a man who lives on secrets is a fool's errand. You're right, you admit. I have no money, but I have a story, one I think you'll find valuable. He motions to a rickety stool with one crooked finger. The last man who told me he had a valuable story tried to pay me with a stolen locket. I still have the locket. He, on the other hand, is currently providing a meal for the crabs off Folly Island. You have 2 minutes. You sit, leaning forward, keeping your voice low. You don't tell him about the map. That is your ace, the one card you cannot show. Instead, you tell him everything else. You tell him about the auction at the old sail loft, about your cousin, Christopher Moody, the sweating, terrified auctioneer. You describe the chest of fool's gold, the theatrical bidding, and the scarred man who acted as the shill. You paint a picture of a meticulously planned deception, and then you deliver your hook. I'm trying to find the stable hand who set me up, you say. A girl with red hair. Bridget O'Malley. At Biddy's name, Silas's good eye narrows almost imperceptibly. A flicker of interest. You've hit a nerve. A stable hand? He scoffs, but there's a new edge to his voice. You lost your life savings over a stable hand? There's more to it. What was in the chest besides worthless rock? Quote, this is the test. He knows there's more. I don't know, you lie, and you pray the lie holds. But they went to an awful lot of trouble for £1,600. Too much trouble. It feels like the money wasn't the real prize. You've given him the shape of the secret without giving him the secret itself. You've trusted your intuition, and now you watch him, reading his reaction as you would a subtle shift in the tide. Silas is quiet for a long time, his single eye staring into the cold hearth, as if reading fortunes in the soot. Biddy O'Malley is no stable hand, he finally says, his voice a low growl. That's a costume she wears. She's a runner for the company. And she's ambitious. Too ambitious for her own good. Quote, the company, you ask? You don't want to know the name. No one speaks the name, he says, waving a dismissive hand. They're new. Moved in a few years back. They own ships, warehouses, politicians, and people. People like your cousin. People like the scarred man you saw. His name is Graves, by the way, and he isn't Biddy's dog. He's her keeper. The company doesn't trust her ambition any more than I do. Quote, the pieces slam into place. This isn't some small-time gang of crooks. This is organized, powerful. And you have just stolen the key to their entire enterprise. Your blood runs cold, but you force yourself to remain calm, to keep the fisherman's placid mask in place. Where do I find her? You ask. She doesn't work out of the stables, does she? Quote, Silas looks at you, a strange expression on his face. It might be pity, it might be respect. You're either the bravest fool I've ever met, or the most dangerous, he mutters. He seems to come to a decision. I don't like the company. They're bad for business. Too tidy, too brutal. Biddy causing trouble for them is a welcome diversion. He leans forward, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. She doesn't use the stables. Her real office is a sailmaker's shop on Gendron Street. Finch and Son. There is no Finch. There is no Son. It's a front. A place to pass messages and meet people you don't want seen. He then gives you a sharp, warning look. But know this, fisherman. If you go there, you're walking into the heart of their territory. Graves will be close. And if they catch you, they won't just take your life. They'll peel it from you, strip by strip. Your story was worth this one piece of information. We are now even. Do not come back to me. Quote, you stand up, your legs feeling steadier than they have all night. You have a destination, a target. You have followed your own code. You didn't steal or kill for the information. You traded for it. You used your wits, the only currency you have left. Thank you, you say. I didn't do it for you, Silas rasps, turning his gaze back to the empty hearth, already dismissing you. I did it to see what a stone like you can do when it's thrown into a quiet pond. Now get out. You turn and walk away, not looking back. You slip through the boisterous crowd and out the door, back into the damp embrace of the Charleston night. The air in the gut is foul, but to you, it smells of freedom. You have survived your first test. You have a lead. From the mouth of a darkened alley across the street, you look toward Gendron Street. You can just make out a swinging sign. Its lettering faded by Salt and Son, Finch and Son, sailmakers. It looks innocuous, normal. But you know it's a lie. It's the entrance to the serpent's den. They think you are a broken, weeping fool hiding in your cottage. They don't know you're here. They don't know you have the map. And they don't know that a fisherman's greatest strength isn't muscle or might. It's patience. You'll watch. You'll wait. And when the time is right, you will pull the net closed. Patience is a virtue for fishermen. You learn it young, sitting in a rocking boat under a blank sky, waiting for a tug on the line that might never come. You practice it now, huddled in the stinking alcove opposite Finch and Son, as the Charleston night bleeds into the gray promise of dawn. You watch the front of the sailmaker's shop, a silent predator learning the patterns of its prey. A baker's boy makes a delivery. A mangy dog lifts its leg against the doorpost. Life goes on, oblivious. But you know that behind that mundane door lies the heart of the serpent. Silas's words echo in your mind. Graves is her keeper. To walk in there now would be to walk into your own execution. They are waiting for you to make a mistake. They expect you to be panicked, emotional, foolish. They are waiting for you at your cottage, at the magistrate's office, at your cousin Christopher's home. They will never expect you to be gone. The map tucked inside your coat is no longer just a clue. It is a fuse. And you have to be an ocean away before it burns down to the powder. You need a ship. Not a fishing skiff, but something small, fast, and able to cross open water. Something whose captain is either too desperate or too crooked to ask questions about a woman with no luggage, no money, and the haunted look of someone who has seen a ghost. There is only one man in Charleston who fits that description. You abandon your post and slip through the waking streets, moving with a purpose that feels both terrifying and liberating. You head for the wharf's rotten heart, a collection of piers so dilapidated they seem to be held together by barnacles and spite. Here, the ships are mean and hungry, just like their captains. You find the one you're looking for, listing slightly to port, as if weary of life itself. The name on the peeling transom is barely legible. Sea Witch. Her captain is Elias Thorne. A man you know by reputation only, a brilliant sailor with a thirst for rum and a talent for losing every coin he ever made. They say he once navigated a hurricane by singing off-key shanties to the storm itself. He is, in short, your only hope. He's on deck, a wiry, sun-scorched man with a braided beard and eyes the color of a stormy sea, patching a sail with hands that are deft and sure. He looks up as you step onto the gangplank, his eyes narrowing. "Get off my boat," he says, not as a command, but as a simple statement of fact. "I'm not hiring, not chartering, and I'm definitely not running a ferry for runaways." Quote. You walk right up to him, stopping just out of arm's reach. You pull the pyrite ingot from your pocket and toss it onto the deck. It lands with a dull, unimpressive clink. "This is a lie," you say. He glances at the rock, then back at you, unimpressed. "So is most of the world. What's your point?" "The man who sold it to me thinks I'm a fool. He thinks I'm hiding in a corner, weeping over my lost savings." You lean in, your voice dropping. What he doesn't know is that he and his partners were so focused on the con, they got careless. They left a trail, a big one that leads to a prize that makes this whole chest of fake gold look like pocket change. Quote, "You're weaving a new lie from the scraps of the truth. It feels surprisingly easy." Elias stops his work, his interest finally piqued. "What kind of prize?" "The kind that requires a fast ship and a discreet captain. The kind where a 20% share would be more than you've seen in 10 years, you say, your gaze steady. He lets out a harsh laugh. 20% of a story? I've got a hold full of stories. They don't buy rum. I have no coin, you admit, but I can offer you this. I can read the weather better than any man in this port. I can navigate by stars you don't even know have names. I will work as your first mate, your navigator, and your lookout. I will earn my passage. And when we find what we're looking for, you'll be rich. If we don't, you've lost nothing but a little time." He studies you for a long, silent minute. He sees the calluses on your hands, the confidence in your eyes, the desperation you can't quite hide. He sees a fellow gambler who has just pushed all her chips into the middle of the table. "You got a name?" he finally asks. "D," you say. "All right, D. You're either crazy or a genius. We sail on the tide. Don't be late." He turns back to his sail, dismissing you. The deal is done. That night, you slip from Charleston Harbor like a ghost. As the Sea Witch glides past the last piers, you see them, a cluster of dark figures by the sail loft, Graves's hulking silhouette unmistakable even at a distance. They're holding lanterns, searching. They've discovered the map is gone. A cold thrill runs through you. The fuse is lit. The first days at sea are a blur of hard work and biting winds. You prove your worth within hours, your fisherman's intuition screaming at the placid sky. "Squall coming from the northwest," you tell Elias, pointing at a barely perceptible change in the cloud formation. "We need to reef the sails now." He scoffs, but something in your certainty makes him give the order. An hour later, a vicious, violent storm descends. A wall of wind and water that would have torn unreefed sails to ribbons. The Sea Witch groans and bucks, but she holds. From that moment on, Elias Thorne looks at you not as a passenger, but as a partner. You sail south, following the first heading from the star chart sewn into the canvas. The days bleed into one another, an endless expanse of turquoise water and blistering sun. You are constantly vigilant, your eyes scanning the horizon, not for land, but for other ships. The company is out there. You know it as surely as you know your own name. Twice, you spot a strange sail, a black-hulled brig that seems to be dogging your course. Both times, you guide Elias through treacherous shoals and narrow channels only a coastal fisherman would know, using the Sea Witch's shallow draft to your advantage until the larger ship is forced to turn back. The threat is real. You are being hunted. The paranoia becomes a constant companion, a cold knot in your stomach. You sleep in short, fitful bursts, the star map a hard lump against your ribs, your hand never far from a belaying pin. The easy, friendly Dee O'Brien is gone, washed away by the salt and the fear. In her place is a hard-eyed woman who speaks little and sees everything. After 2 weeks of relentless sailing, you reach the coordinates. It's a jagged splinter of an island, a former volcano cloaked in a suffocatingly dense jungle. It's not on any of Elias's charts. According to the map, you need to find a cove on the western shore, one marked by a rock formation shaped like a serpent's tooth. You and Elias row ashore in the small dinghy, the oppressive silence of the island broken only by the screech of unseen birds and the hum of a million insects. The air is thick and sweet, with the smell of rotting fruit and damp earth. "This place feels wrong," Elias mutters, his hand resting on the hilt of the cutlass at his belt. "We're not here for a picnic," you reply, your eyes scanning the coastline. You find it an hour later. A narrow inlet, almost completely hidden by overgrown vines and a massive, tooth-shaped rock. The entrance is choked with jagged coral. "We can only get in at low tide," you say, your heart starting to pound. This is it. The first test of the map. You wait, the sun beating down on you, the tide slowly, painstakingly receding. As the water level drops, a dark, narrow channel opens up. You guide the dinghy through, the hull scraping against rock, until you emerge into a hidden lagoon. It's a perfect, circular cove, walled in by sheer black cliffs. The water is unnaturally still, the light dim and green. It feels like a cathedral of secrets. On the far wall of the cove, you see it. Carved into the stone, weathered but unmistakable, is a symbol, the constellation of the Great Bear. But it's altered. Next to it, a series of numbers are chiseled into the rock. It's a new heading, another set of coordinates. Your heart leaps. The map is real. It works. Then Elias curses, a low, guttural sound. He's pointing at something just below the carving. Scratched hastily into the stone, the letters, crude and sharp, are 3 words in Spanish. The carving looks much fresher than the star chart. La sombra te ve. The shadow sees you. A chill, entirely unrelated to the cool air of the cove, snakes its way down your spine. Blackheart Bill has been dead for a century. This warning was not left by him. Someone else is on this trail. Someone else is out here, in this labyrinth of forgotten islands and treacherous waters. You look back out toward the mouth of the cove. At the sliver of open sea beyond, the feeling of being hunted intensifies, becoming a suffocating certainty. This isn't just a race against Biddy and her faceless company. You are following a ghost, and it seems another shadow is following you both. You have found the next clue, but in doing so, you have also found a new, unknown enemy. You are no longer just the prey. You are caught in the middle of a war you don't understand, for a prize you have yet to find. The Caribbean Sea suddenly feels much smaller, and the coves are no longer hidden. They are traps. The words burn in your mind, a brand of pure fear. The shadow sees you. Elias scrambles back into the dinghy, his face pale beneath its sun-darkened leather. He fumbles with the oars, his usual confidence shattered. He doesn't need to tell you to hurry. The tranquil cove has transformed into a tomb, and you feel the weight of the lid closing over you. You shove off the rock, your hand scraping against the rough stone, and help Elias row, your combined panic lending a frantic, desperate rhythm to your strokes. You don't look back at the carving. You don't have to. The words are etched behind your eyes. Once you break free of the inlet and get back to the Sea Witch, the silence between you and Elias is heavier than the humid air. He hoists the dinghy aboard with grim, furious efficiency, his movements sharp with unspoken accusation. You climb to the deck, your legs unsteady, and stare at the jungle-choked island as it recedes behind you, a green monster that has shown you its teeth. "This is over," Elias says, his voice flat. He doesn't look at you. He's staring at his rigging, at the familiar lines of his ship, as if trying to reassert some control over a world that has just spun wildly off its axis. "I signed on to chase a prize, D, not a ghost. Not to be hunted by whatever the hell the shadow is." Quote, "We have the next heading," you say, your voice a low, urgent whisper. You pull out the canvas map. The original chart feels almost comforting now compared to the new coordinates you've hastily copied onto a scrap of parchment. "It worked, Elias. The trail is real." "And it's a trail to a bloody grave," he snarls, finally turning to face you, his stormy eyes blazing. "Did you not see that warning? This isn't just about your stable hand and her gang of thugs in Charleston anymore. This is something else, something older and meaner. I'm a smuggler, not a ghost hunter. We turn back, we sell what we know in Tortuga, and disappear." "They won't let us disappear." You counter, stepping toward him. The deck rocks beneath your feet, a constant reminder of your instability. The company, Graves, Biddy, they're not going to just let us sail away. They're hunting us. And now the shadow is hunting us. The only way out is through. The only way to be safe is to get the prize before they do. To have something so valuable they can't touch us. Or something so valuable they'll slit our throats for it without a second thought, he shoots back. "There's no winning this, D. There's only surviving. And this," he gestures wildly at the open sea around you, "is not a path to survival." Quote, before you can argue further, a cry comes from the top of the mast. "Sail! Off the starboard bow!" Quote, you both freeze. Your head snaps around. It's a sloop, sleek and black, cutting through the water with terrifying speed. It's not the brig you evaded before. This one is different. It flies no colors, no flag of king or company. It's a predator, and it's closing the distance with an unnerving confidence. "They found us," Elias breathes, the color draining from his face. "Change course! Shake them!" But it's too late. The Sea Witch is fast, but the black sloop is a greyhound. Within the hour, it's upon you, pulling alongside with terrifying precision. Grapnels fly through the air, their iron claws biting deep into your ship's railings with a series of sickening thuds. The sound is the death knell of your escape. Men swarm over the side. They are not the brutish, desperate thugs you saw in the Kraken's arms. These men are disciplined, moving with a silent, coordinated purpose that is far more frightening. They are wiry and sun-blackened, armed with cutlasses and pistols, their eyes hard and assessing. They disarm Elias before he can even draw his blade, shoving him to his knees. Two of them corner you against the mainmast, their blades glinting. You don't struggle. You stand your ground, your heart, a cold, heavy stone in your chest. A man steps aboard from the sloop's deck. He moves with a fluid, almost lazy grace, but his eyes miss nothing. He is older than the others, his dark hair streaked with silver at the temples, his face lined by sun and time. He wears a clean, white linen shirt, a stark contrast to the grime of his crew. He stops before you, his gaze sweeping over you, then Elias, then the simple, rugged lines of the Sea Witch. "A fisherman and a drunkard," he says, his voice a calm, cultured baritone that seems utterly out of place amidst the barely contained violence. "Hardly the crew I expected to find on Blackheart's trail. Where is it?" Quote, "Go to hell," Elias spits from his knees. The pirate captain doesn't even glance at him. His focus is entirely on you. He sees the defiance in your eyes, the lack of tears, the way you stand unbowed. "You're the one," he says, a statement of fact. "You have the look. The one who solved the first puzzle. I am Captain Sterling. And this," he gestures to his ship, the Nix, "is now your final destination, unless you hand over the chart." Quote, "This is the moment. Your life balances on the edge of a knife. You could lie, deny everything, but he would see it. He has the same look Silas Croft had, the look of a man who reads people like the weather. Your only chance is to change the game, to offer something more valuable than the map itself." "The chart is worthless without me," you say, your voice tight but steady. "It's not one map. It's a chain. Each link leads to the next. I'm the only one who can read the stars on it. It's a bluff, but a good one, rooted in the truth of your skills." Sterling smiles, a thin, humorless expression. "Navigators can be found. Charts can be deciphered." "Can they?" You press, your mind racing. "Can your navigator decipher this?" You take a deep breath. La Sombra TV. The name hits the deck with the force of a cannonball. The lazy confidence vanishes from Captain Sterling's face, replaced by a sudden, sharp stillness. His crewmen exchange nervous glances. Elias looks at you, his eyes wide with a new, dawning understanding. "You've just named the bogeyman. Where did you see that?" Sterling's voice is a low, dangerous growl. "Carved into the rock at the last marker," you say, pressing your advantage. "Looks like we're not the only ones on this hunt, and I'm willing to bet the Shadow has more ships and more guns than both of us combined." Quote, you see the calculation in his eyes. He is no fool. He understands the implication immediately. He thought this was a simple treasure hunt. You've just shown him it's a war on two fronts. "The company is behind us," you continue, your voice gaining strength. "You must have heard the whispers. A new power in the ports. They're the ones who set this all in motion. They used me to get the chest, but they don't have the key. I do. So we have them at our back and the Shadow at our front. You're caught in the middle, same as us." Quote, Sterling is silent for a long moment, his intelligent eyes boring into you. He is reevaluating everything. He came here for a prize and found himself in a vice. "The Shadow. I have heard tales of that name," he finally says, more to himself than to you. "A ghost. A guild of assassins who protect the old pirate fortunes. I thought they were a myth." Quote, "The warning they left felt very real," you say. He turns and paces the small deck of your ship, his boots making a soft, rhythmic sound. His crew waits, utterly still, for his decision. "You are a clever woman, fisherman," he says, stopping in front of you again. "Cleverer than your partners in Charleston gave you credit for." He glances at Elias, who is still on his knees, watching the exchange with a bewildered awe. "Get up, drunkard. It seems we have business to discuss." Two of his men haul Elias to his feet. "An alliance," Sterling says, looking from you to Elias. "Not of friendship. Let's not insult each other with such nonsense. An alliance of necessity. Your knowledge and my guns. Your ship for scouting the shallows, and my ship for fighting what we find in the deep. We sail together. We find the prize together. We split it. 60-40. 50-50, you counter immediately, your fisherman's haggling instinct taking over. "You need my brain more than I need your cannons. Without me, you have nothing to point them at." Quote, Elias stares at you as if you've lost your mind. Sterling's lips twitch, this time in a flicker of genuine amusement. "You have nerve, I'll grant you that. Very well, 50-50. But my man comes aboard your vessel to ensure the lines of communication remain open, and you will share the next heading with me. Now, it's a deal made in hell, brokered on the deck of a stolen future. You are trading one set of enemies for another, tying your fate to a man who would have killed you without a second thought 10 minutes ago. But it's the only move you have. To refuse is death. To accept is a chance. Agreed, you say. And you feel the word seal your fate. You give him the new coordinates, the numbers you copied from the cave wall. He looks at them, then hands the parchment to his first mate. Set a course. He turns back to you. "Welcome to the hunt, D. I hope you survive it." Quote, with that, he and most of his men return to the Nix. One remains, a tall, silent pirate with eyes like chips of flint, who plants himself near the helm of the Sea Witch. He is your bodyguard and your jailer. The grapnels are released, and the two ships pull apart, taking up positions to sail side by side, an uneasy fleet. Elias comes to stand beside you, his gaze fixed on the imposing black sloop that now shadows your every move. "Are you insane?" he hisses. "Making deals with him? He'll cut our throats the second we find anything." Quote, "Maybe," you reply, your own eyes on the Nix, on the figure of Captain Sterling watching you from his quarterdeck, "but he'll have to get in line behind the company in the shadow to do it. We just bought ourselves allies, Elias, and we just bought ourselves time." You look out at the vast, unforgiving sea. Your world has expanded and contracted all at once. You are no longer alone, but you have never felt more isolated. You are part of a crew, bound by a desperate pact, sailing toward a treasure that may not exist, pursued by enemies both seen and unseen. The spontaneous, friendly fisherman from Charleston is well and truly gone, drowned in the murky waters of the Caribbean. In her place stands a woman who makes alliances with pirates and wagers her life on the next set of stars. The hunter has become a part of the pack, and you can only pray you don't get devoured by your own. The alliance settles into a tense, grinding routine. Your days are spent on the deck of the Sea Witch, with the black-hulled Nix a constant, predatory shadow off your port side. The silent pirate Sterling placed on your ship, a man called Cale, with eyes like barren rock, is your other shadow. He never speaks, merely watches. His presence a constant reminder that you are a partner in this venture, only so long as you are useful. Elias grumbles and drinks, his fear a sour scent on the air, but he follows your orders to the letter. He saw what you did in that cove. He saw what you did with Sterling. He no longer sees you as a runaway, but as some strange, terrifying force of nature he has lashed his fate to. You spend your waking hours with the canvas map, cross-referencing the stars with Elias's worn charts. But mostly you watch the sea. You watch for shifts in the wind, for the color of the water to change, for the telltale flight of birds that signals a distant shore, but most of all, you watch for sails. You are the hunted, and the open ocean offers nowhere to hide. The cry comes on the fourth day, a sharp yell from the lookout on the Nix, relayed by signal flag. "Sail astern, making speed!" Elias pales, his hand going to his rum bottle. Cale moves to the rail, pulling a long glass from his belt. You snatch your own, your hand steady as you bring it to your eye. It takes you a moment to find it, a black speck against the blinding blue. It's a barquentine, fast and sleek. It sails white as bone against the sky. It cuts through the water with an arrogant grace. A signal flag whips up the Nix's mast. Sterling is asking a question you already know the answer to. You feel it in your gut. A cold dread that has nothing to do with pirates, and everything to do with a friendly smile in a crowded sail loft. Cale lowers his glass, his stony face for once showing a flicker of grim emotion. "The jackdaw," he says, his voice a low rasp, the first two words you've heard him speak. O'Malley's ship. So the stable hand truly is a captain. The lie was deeper and more absolute than you could have imagined. She isn't just a runner, a pawn like Christopher. She is a queen in this game, and she is coming for the piece you stole from her. The jackdaw gains on you with relentless speed. She's faster than the Sea Witch, and nimbler than Sterling's heavier Nix. Biddy is a predator in her element, and she is hurting you. You watch her course, the way she angles to cut you off from the chain of small islands to the east. She wants you in open water, where Sterling's cannons are less of a threat, and her speed is an insurmountable advantage. She's not just chasing you, she's outthinking you. She knows what she's doing, Elias mutters, wiping sweat from his brow. She'll have us by sunset. No, she won't, you say, your eyes not on Biddy's ship, but on the sky. You point to a thin, wispy line of cloud far to the northwest, a mare's tail that an ordinary sailor would ignore for hours. She's so focused on the chase, she's not reading the signs. There's a storm coming. A bad one. Cale follows your gaze, his eyes narrowing. A squall. It will pass. Quote, "This is no squall," you reply, your voice ringing with the certainty of 1,000 mornings spent watching the Atlantic sky. "This is a beast, and we're going to sail right into its mouth." You spread a chart on the capstan, the corners held down with belaying pins. "Here," you say, your finger tracing a line. "This chain of islands. The charts call it the Devil's Teeth. It's a maze of reefs and impassable channels. Except one." Your finger stops. Fishermen call it the needle's eye. It's deep enough, but barely wide enough for the sea witch, let alone the nix. In a storm, it would be suicide to try. Quote, "Then we go around," Elias says, his voice trembling. "Biddy will be waiting for us on the other side," you counter. "But if we go through," you look from Elias's terrified face to Kale's skeptical one. "The storm will give us cover. The waves will be chaos, but the current inside the eye runs true. I can feel it. I can navigate it." Biddy knows these waters, but she's a company captain, not a fisherman. She won't know the feel of it. She won't risk her ship on a fisherman's tale. You signal your plan to the Nix. The wait for Sterling's reply is agonizing. You can see his dilemma. To follow you is to put his ship and crew at the mercy of your intuition. To refuse is to face Biddy O'Malley on her own terms. The flag finally goes up. A single, affirmative pennant. He's trusting you. The sky darkens with alarming speed. The sea, once a placid blue, turns a bruised, angry gray. The wind begins to shriek through the rigging. The jackdaw is closer now, close enough for you to see the figures on her deck. You raise your glass one last time. There she is. Bridget O'Malley stands on the quarterdeck, her fiery hair whipping in the wind, a wild, glorious banner of defiance. She is not the friendly, stable hand. She is not the creative plotter. She is a sea wolf, born to the tempest, and her eyes, even from this distance, are fixed on you with an expression of pure, possessive fury. She raises a hand, not in a wave, but pointing directly at you, a promise of retribution. Then the storm hits. Rain comes down in a solid, blinding sheet. The world shrinks to the deck of your ship, a tiny, fragile island in a world of churning rage. Waves like liquid mountains rise up, crashing over the bow, sweeping the deck with a deadly force. The sea witch groans, her timbers screaming in protest. "Take the helm!" you yell to Elias over the roar of the wind. "Just hold her steady! Kale, with me!" You and the silent pirate fight your way to the bow, clinging to lifelines as the deck pitches violently beneath you. You need to be the eyes of the ship. You stare into the maelstrom, your vision blurred by rain and salt spray, looking not for a channel, but for a feeling. You search for the subtle shift in the wave patterns, the telltale pull of the deeper current that signals the entrance to the needle's eye. "There!" you scream, pointing into a nightmare of crashing surf and exposed black rock. To anyone else, it's a death trap. To you, it's the door. You scramble back to the helm, shoving Elias aside. "My wheel!" The wooden spokes are slick and alive in your hands, kicking and fighting you with every wave. You feel the ship respond, turning her nose toward the chaos. You sail past a jagged black tooth of rock that shears the crest off a wave just feet from your hull. The Nix follows, a behemoth trying to dance a jig in a shoebox, her huge hull scraping against the reef with a sound like a giant scream. For an eternity, you are inside the storm's throat. The noise is absolute, a physical pressure that threatens to crush you. The world is a gray blur of water, rock, and spray. You are not steering a ship, you are wrestling a leviathan. Your arms and back ache, every muscle screaming, but you don't relent. You feel the current, the true, deep river running beneath the surface chaos, and you hold to it as if it were your only faith. You risk a glance behind you. Through a momentary gap in the swirling rain, you see the jackdaw. She is at the entrance to the eye, hesitating. You see Biddy, a furious splash of red and black against the gray, staring into the passage you have already dared. You see her indecision. She is cunning, she is ruthless, but she is not a fool. To risk her ship and crew on a passage that shouldn't exist is a gamble too far, even for her. She screams an order, and the jackdaw begins to turn away, to take the long, safe route around the islands. You've won. An hour later, you break through into the calmer waters on the leeward side of the island chain. The storm still rages out at sea, but here, protected by the landmass, the waves are manageable, the wind a tolerable howl. The sea witch is battered and bruised. A spar is cracked, a section of the rail is gone, but she is whole. The Nix emerges behind you, scarred and scraped but intact. The adrenaline recedes, leaving you trembling and utterly exhausted. Your hands are raw, your muscles feel like jelly. Elias is leaning against the mast, looking at you with a kind of religious awe. Kale stands beside you, water dripping from his face. He looks from you, to the heaving sea you just conquered, and back again. He gives a single sharp nod. It is a gesture that speaks volumes, of respect, of acknowledgement, of a bond forged not in friendship, but in the heart of a storm. You have escaped, You have used your enemy's strength, her calculating logic, against her. You have proven that a fisherman's knowledge is worth more than a pirate's speed. You look out at the gray, troubled water, toward the next set of coordinates, the next link in the chain. You have won this day's battle. But you know, with the chilling certainty that settles deep in your bones, that Bridget O'Malley is not a woman who forgives. She is out there, in the storm, and her patience will be as limitless as her rage. The rage of the storm recedes into a sullen, gray exhaustion, leaving the world scoured and weeping. The sea witch limps in the lee of the island chain, a wounded animal licking its injuries. The air, stripped of its heat, hangs cool and heavy, with the scent of rain, brine, and splintered pine from the cracked spar. Elias works methodically, his earlier awe replaced by a focused, grim determination to patch the holes in his ship and his courage. Beside him, Cale moves with an unnerving economy, securing lines and testing the strained rigging, his silence somehow more profound after the deafening roar of the tempest. He gave you that single nod, an admission of respect that felt more valuable than any coin, but now he is once again Sterling's man, a silent observer on your deck. You feel a deep, bone-weary ache in every muscle, your hands raw and stiff from their death grip on the wheel. But beneath the exhaustion is a cold, humming current of triumph. You face down, Biddy. You face down the storm. You survived. For the first time since this nightmare began, you don't just feel like prey. You feel like a power in your own right. Leaving Elias and Cale to their repairs, you make your way below deck to your small, cramped cabin. The space is a shambles. The violent pitching of the ship has thrown your meager possessions across the floor. Your spare set of clothes, a coil of rope, a small sack of dried fish, all lie in a damp, jumbled heap. It is the sight of a small, dark wood box lying half open near your bunk that makes your breath catch. It was your mother's, one of the few things you have left of her, of them. It's a simple thing, made of a dark, salt-resistant wood you now recognize as teak, with no lock, just a clever, fitted lid. You've had it your entire life, a familiar, solid presence. Inside were the keepsakes of a simple life, a string of sea glass beads, a tiny, perfect seashell, your father's christening medal, small, sentimental treasures with no value to anyone but you. But the storm has done what years of gentle handling never could. The box must have struck the corner of your bunk, and the seam along the bottom has split open, revealing that the base was thicker than it should be. A false bottom. Your heart gives a slow, heavy thud. With trembling fingers, you pry at the splintered wood. It gives way, revealing a shallow, felt-lined compartment. It is not empty. Lying inside is a slim, oilskin-wrapped packet and a single, heavy coin, tarnished nearly black with age. You pick up the coin. It's not Spanish or English. One side is stamped with a crudely rendered serpent eating its own tail. On the other, beneath a skull, is a single ornate letter. Oh. You've never seen a mark like it. Your hands shake as you unwrap the oilskin packet. Inside is a journal, its leather cover softened and worn by time. The pages are filled with your mother's handwriting, a fine, elegant script, so at odds with the rough life you remember her living. You always thought it was because she'd had a bit of education before she married a simple fisherman. The ink is faded, and water has bled into some of the pages, but it is still legible. You sit on the edge of your bunk, the gentle rocking of the recovering ship, a counterpoint to the turmoil building inside you, and you begin to read. The first entries are just what you'd expect. Notes on tides, the price of fish at the Charleston market, worries about a coming winter. But then, about a year before you were born, the tone changes. October 14th. Fionn was out late again. He came back with the tide, smelling of the sea and something else. Fear. He says it's nothing, but I saw the look in his eyes when that ship with the black sails passed the harbor mouth. He thinks he left it all behind when he left his father's name. But the sea has a long memory, and his family has an even longer one. Your father's name was Fionn O'Brien. You read on, your blood turning to ice. November 3rd RD. His cousin came today, a boy full of fire and fury, with hair to match. He spat our new name, O'Brien, like it was a curse. He called Fionn a coward and a traitor to his blood. He spoke of birthrights and legacies, of a great prize that belonged to their family. Fionn sent him away, but the boy's parting words hang in the air between us. The sea will claim its own, Fionn O'Malley. And so will we. Single quote, O'Malley. The name is a physical blow, knocking the wind from your lungs. Bridget Biddy O'Malley, fiery red hair, a stable hand who is also a company captain. Your opposite. Your antagonist. Your cousin. The pieces of the puzzle rearrange themselves with dizzying, sickening speed. Christopher Moody, your mother's cousin who helped you. Biddy O'Malley, your father's cousin who is trying to destroy you. This isn't a random act of cruelty. This is a family affair. A feud. And you were standing in the smoldering center of it. You frantically flip through the pages, your eyes scanning for more. You find an entry from a few months after you were born. May 2nd. I look at Deirdre and I see him. She has his eyes, but she also has his spirit. The wildness. The pull of the deep water. Fionn says we must protect her from it, that the O'Malley curse will not touch our daughter. He wants her to be a fisherman, not a pirate. He says there is honor in one and only damnation in the other, but I held his father's compass today. The one that doesn't point north. It points to what you desire most. I fear what it would point to, if ever our daughter held it in her hands. He buried the compass. He says some things are better left lost. Your father. A pirate's son. His real name was Fionn O'Malley. He ran, changed his name, and tried to build a new life. A safe life for you. The fever that took them when you were 10, was it a fever, or did the sea and the O'Malleys finally claim their own? The lie Christopher told you was not a cruelty, but a shield. A shield that Biddy has just shattered. She wasn't looking for any fool to be her pawn at the auction. She was looking for you, the lost heir, the child of the traitor. The key. You look at the coin in your hand, the one with the letter O stamped on it. O'Malley. It must be their family mark. A pirate clan sigil, and Blackheart Bill's treasure. What if it wasn't just a prize Biddy wanted? What if it was her birthright, one your father abandoned, and she is now determined to reclaim? She didn't just use you to carry the map out for her. She used you to pay for it. The ultimate insult. Making the traitor's child fund the recovery of the family's lost glory. You close the journal, your mind reeling. Your whole life, your entire identity, is a lie. You are not just Deirdre O'Brien, fisherman. You are the daughter of Fionn O'Malley, the granddaughter of a pirate. The affinity you feel for the sea, the uncanny ability to read the weather and the tides, the reckless, spontaneous streak that led you to buy that chest in the first place. It's not luck. It's heritage. It's blood. The very thing you are running from is the thing you are made of. A shadow falls across the cabin doorway. You look up, your heart still pounding, to see Cale standing there. His stone-gray eyes take in the scene, the broken box, the journal in your hands, the coin on the bunk beside you. But most of all, he sees the look on your face. He sees that the fisherman who steered them through the needle's eye is gone. In her place is someone else. Someone harder, colder, and infinitely more dangerous. He doesn't ask what you found. He just points a single, scarred finger at the coin. Blackheart's crew, he says, his voice a gravelly rasp. Each of his core men had one made. A mark of loyalty. There were only ever 7. I thought they were all lost to the depths. Quote. His words confirm the final, terrifying piece of the puzzle. Your grandfather wasn't just any pirate. He was one of Blackheart Bill's inner circle. This isn't just a treasure hunt anymore. It's a homecoming. You slowly pick up the coin, its weight feeling different now, heavier with the burden of history. You close your fist around it, the metal cool against your skin. You are not an outsider caught in a deadly game. You are a legacy. You are a blood claim. Biddy thinks she is the true heir, coming to take back what is hers. She is about to find out that the traitor's daughter has a claim of her own. And unlike your father, you have no intention of running. You look up at Cale, and for the first time, you let the cold, wild pirate spirit in your blood show in your eyes. They're not all lost, you say. Cale's words hang in the air, heavy and solid as anchor chain. Blackheart's crew. Your grandfather. The cabin, which only moments ago felt like a coffin, now feels like the crucible where you are being remade. You are no longer drifting, you are aimed. The wild, spontaneous spark inside you, the one that Biddy and Christopher mistook for foolishness, now feels like the flinty heritage of a pirate king. You are the storm they failed to predict. Then we have a better claim than she does, you state. your voice cutting through the quiet aftermath of the tempest. It is not a question. It is a declaration of war. You don't wait for a reply. You snatch the journal and the final set of coordinates you copied from the cove wall and stride onto the deck. The sky is a canvas of bruised purples and tender pinks. Elias has his ship under control, but his eyes are still wide with the terror of the storm and the shock of Biddy's pursuit. Sterling's man Cale follows you from the cabin, the coin still in his palm. He holds it out to you. You take it, the O for O'Malley pressing into your skin, a brand of ownership. You signal the Nix. A boat is lowered, and within minutes Captain Sterling is climbing aboard the Sea Witch, his face a thunderous mask. His ship is more heavily damaged than yours, a long, deep scar running along her hull where she scraped the reef. His eyes promise retribution for the risk you forced him to take. "This game of yours has cost me dearly, fisherman," he begins, his voice a low growl. "If this next location is another dead end—" "It's not," you interrupt, shoving the journal into his hands. "My mother's." Read the last entry. You point to the faded script describing the compass that doesn't point north. Blackheart didn't trust maps. He trusted magic. He trusted desire. The final location isn't just coordinates. It's a riddle. And I'm the only one left who knows the answer. Sterling reads, his eyes widening as he takes in the words. He looks from the journal to the coin in your hand, and then to Cale, who gives a slow, deliberate nod. The pirate captain's anger melts away, replaced by the sharp, hungry look of a predator who has just scented blood. The balance of power has shifted, and you are no longer just his navigator. You are his key. Isla de los Huesos, he breathes. The Isle of Bones, it's real. It's our birthright, you say, the words feeling strange and powerful on your tongue. And Biddy is coming to steal it. The journey to the Isle of Bones is a mad dash, a race against a phantom. Biddy is out there, somewhere behind you, licking her wounds and plotting her revenge. You push the battered sea witch to her limit, Elias, now a fervent convert to your cause, driven by a cocktail of fear and greed. The two ships, yours and Sterling's, are no longer a tense alliance but a unified pack, closing in on the final prize. You find it at dawn on the second day. It rises from the sea like a dragon's spine, a black, volcanic skeleton of an island, its shores littered with the bleached and shattered hulls of 100 wrecked ships. A permanent, ominous cloud of steam hangs over its central peak. This is a place that does not welcome visitors. As you draw closer, you see her. The Jackdaw, anchored in a sheltered bay, looking as sleek and unbothered as if she were waiting for a Sunday regatta. Biddy is already here. A cold dread mixes with your burning anger. She didn't need the map. She had her own lore, her own family secrets. She was toying with you, letting you do the legwork, letting you lead her allies into a trap. "It's an ambush," Elias whispers, his knuckles white on the rail. "No," you say, your eyes scanning the treacherous shoreline. "It's a challenge. She's waiting for me." You, Sterling, Cale, Elias, and a dozen of Sterling's toughest men row ashore, leaving the ships to guard the bay. The beach is black sand and sharp volcanic rock. A narrow path, almost a goat trail, winds its way up the side of the volcano. At the start of the path, a single object has been driven into the ground. A stable hand's currycomb, its teeth rusted by the salt spray. A message. An invitation. Just for you. "She wants you alone," Sterling says, his hand on his cutlass. "She'll get more than she bargained for," you reply. "Give me Cale. The rest of you, follow 50 paces behind. No matter what you hear, do not interfere unless I give the signal." Sterling hesitates, then nods. He understands. This is not about gold anymore. This is about blood. You and Cale start up the path. The air grows hot and thick with the smell of sulfur. The trail is treacherous, with loose scree that threatens to send you tumbling down the mountainside. After a 20-minute climb, the path opens onto a wide, flat caldera, a natural amphitheater of black rock. In the center of it, steam hisses from a dozen fissures in the ground. And there, standing beside the largest vent, is Bridget O'Malley. She is dressed for battle, in practical leather breeches, and a linen shirt, her fiery hair tied back. A fine Spanish cutlass rests on her hip. She watches you approach, her friendly smile, a grotesque parody of the one you remember from the sail loft. "Cousin," she calls out, her voice echoing in the caldera. "I knew you'd find your way." "It's in the blood, isn't it? The pull of home." "This isn't a home, Biddy," you say, stopping 20 feet from her. Cale stands just behind you, a silent granite statue of violence. "It's a graveyard." For our family, and for everyone else foolish enough to come here. Her smile falters. Our father was a coward who ran from his legacy. I am here to reclaim it. That treasure is the O'Malley birthright. Quote, Our father was a wise man who ran from a curse, you shoot back, your voice ringing with the conviction of your mother's words. He knew this gold was poison. He chose a life, Biddy. He chose love and family over a chest of metal. A choice you could never understand. He chose poverty, obscurity, she spits, her friendly mask crumbling to reveal the raw, furious ambition beneath. She draws her cutlass, the blade singing in the hot, sulphurous air. He betrayed our name. And you, the coward's daughter, have the gall to stand here and lecture me about honor? That map, that treasure, it belongs to me. I tracked it for years. All I needed was a pawn to get it past the company's rivals. And you, with your bleeding heart and your trust in that sniveling drunkard Christopher, were the perfect fool. Quote, The fool was you say calmly, drawing the worn, practical cutlass Elias gave you. You thought I was just a fisherman. You never bothered to look deeper. You saw a tool, but you failed to see the weapon. Quote, With a scream of pure rage, she lunges. She is fast, her blade a blur, her style precise and aggressive. You meet her attack. Your own movements less refined, more instinctive. It's not a duel of masters, it's a brawl. You parry and retreat, using the treacherous ground to your advantage. Your fisherman's feet, accustomed to the heaving deck of a ship, find purchase where she slips on the loose rock. The clash of steel echoes off the crater walls. Steam from the fissures billows around you, obscuring your vision, turning the fight into a deadly game of hide and seek. She's stronger, but you're smarter. You're not trying to beat her. You're trying to outlast her. Her anger is making her sloppy. She overextends on a lunge, and you pivot, not striking, but tripping her. She tumbles to the ground, her sword skittering across the rock. You have her. Your blade is at her throat before she can recover. Panting, she glares up at you, her eyes full of venom. Do it, she hisses. Finish it. Prove you're one of us. You look down at her, at your cousin, the architect of your ruin, the symbol of the greed that destroyed your family, and you see your father's choice. You see the curse, and you refuse it. You pull your blade back and step away. No, you say, your voice clear and steady. I'm not one of you. My name is Deirdre O'Brien, and I'm a fisherman. A look of utter disbelief, followed by a wave of humiliation, washes over her face. In that moment, Sterling and his men crest the rise, their swords drawn. They surround Biddy, their faces grim. The showdown is over. You won not by killing her, but by refusing to become her. With Biddy and her stunned crew taken captive, you turn your attention to the real prize. Following the last riddle in your mother's journal, you lead the way to a section of the caldera wall that looks like all the others. Blackheart's heart was not in his chest, you recite, but at his feet. You stomp on a large, flat rock at the base of the wall. There is a deep, grinding sound, and a section of the rock face slides away, revealing a dark, yawning opening. The air that pours out is ancient and cold. Sterling's men light torches, their faces alight with a feverish, golden glow. You step inside. The cave is immense, a natural vault. And it is filled, beyond any sane imagining, with treasure. Mountains of gold doubloons, chests overflowing with emeralds and pearls, jewel-encrusted goblets, silver statues. A pirate king's hoard accumulated over a lifetime of plunder. It's real, all of it. Sterling lets out a whooping cry of pure joy, echoed by his men. They rush forward, laughing, plunging their hands into the piles of gold, letting coins run through their fingers like water. Elias stands beside you, his mouth agape, his eyes glazed over with disbelief and avarice. But you feel a sudden, piercing cold. You see a small, ornate chest sitting alone on a rock pedestal, away from the main hoard. It's the only thing in the cavern not glittering with gold or jewels. You walk towards it, an inexplicable dread building in your chest. On its lid is the familiar carving of a serpent eating its own tail. You open it. Inside, resting on a bed of faded velvet, is a compass. Its needle, made of a strange, dark metal, spins wildly before settling. It doesn't point north. It points directly at the cave entrance, back toward the sea, back toward freedom. It is your mother's words made real, a compass that points to what you desire most, and you desire to leave. Then you hear it, a low, deep groaning from the heart of the volcano. The ground shudders beneath your feet. A fine dust rains down from the ceiling. The torches flicker wildly as a hot, sulphurous wind rushes out from the back of the cave. The smiles vanish from the pirates' faces, replaced by looks of terror. It's a trap, you breathe. The whole island, the treasure is the bait. Taking it, it triggered something. Leave it. Get out! Sterling screams, but his eyes are still locked on the gold, his face a mask of conflict. His men are frozen, caught between unimaginable wealth and imminent death. Elias, Cale, you yell, now! Elias snaps out of his stupor, his survival instinct overriding his greed. Cale is already moving, his face grim. He grabs your arm, pulling you toward the entrance. You scoop up the compass from the chest and run, not looking back at the glittering poison. You burst out into the open air just as a deafening roar shakes the very foundations of the island. The ground of the caldera splits apart. A massive fissure opens up, swallowing rock, steam, and the desperate cries of Sterling's men. You don't stop running. You, Elias, and Cale scramble down the treacherous path as the world collapses behind you. You reach the beach and throw yourselves into the dinghy, rowing with frantic, desperate strokes. From the water, you watch in horror and awe as the Isle of Bones consumes itself. The central peak of the volcano explodes in a plume of black smoke and fire. The Nyx, anchored too close to the shore, is swamped by a tidal wave and dragged under. The Jackdaw, further out, is tossed about but manages to stay afloat, Biddy's captured crew likely struggling to save her. Exhausted and shaking, you reach the Sea Witch. You climb aboard. Your only possessions, the clothes on your back, your mother's journal, your father's legacy, and a compass that points home. You have found Blackheart's treasure. The real treasure. The wisdom to let it go. You stare at the self-destructing island, a funeral pyre for greed. And for the first time in a long time, you feel the sun on your face, not as a harsh glare, but as a gentle, promising warmth. The thunder of the dying island fades behind you, replaced by a profound, ringing silence. It is the silence of a world wiped clean, of a story that has consumed itself in fire and water. The Sea Witch, wounded but alive, crests the rolling swells, her pace slow and funereal. You stand at the rail, your knuckles white, the strange, heavy compass a cold weight in your palm. Beside you, Elias grips the wheel, his face a slack mask of shock, his gaze fixed on the dissipating pillar of smoke on the horizon. Cale is a statue carved from shadow, his flint-like eyes watching the sea as if expecting more ghosts to rise from its depths. There are no words. What could be said that the roar of the mountain had not already screamed? The treasure is gone. Sterling and his men, swallowed by their own avarice. The Nyx, a ghost ship at the bottom of the sea. Biddy, your cousin, your nemesis, her fate uncertain. Last seen on the deck of a ship being torn apart by the sea's fury. You have survived, but survival feels like a strange and hollow victory. You look down at the compass in your hand. Its dark needle trembles, then settles, pointing not north, not toward any landmass, but steadfastly in the direction of your retreat. It points toward the life you almost lost. The journey back is a long, quiet meditation. The frantic energy of the chase is gone, replaced by the slow, rhythmic work of mending a broken ship and healing fractured souls. You stitch canvas, splice rope, and stand watch, the familiar tasks a balm to your frayed nerves. In the endless quiet of the sea, you finally have time to think, to sift through the wreckage of the past few weeks. You open your mother's journal, its pages now warped and stiff with salt, and you read her story again. You trace the lines of her elegant script, feeling the weight of her choices, the depth of her love for the man who ran from his own name. He chose to be Fionn O'Brien, fisherman, not Fionn O'Malley, pirate. He chose a life of calloused hands and meager earnings over a legacy of blood and gold. He chose peace, a peace you have just fought a war to reclaim. One evening, as a sunset bleeds across the sky in hues of orange and violet, Elias joins you at the rail. He is sober, his eyes clearer than you have ever seen them. He looks out at the water, not at you. "I lost everything chasing your story, Dee," he says, his voice quiet, devoid of its usual bluster. "My ship is half wrecked. My reputation, what little I had, is probably sunk right alongside Sterling's." He finally turns to you. "Was it worth it?" Quote, You think of the men entombed in the heart of that island, of the ships shattered against its shores. You think of Christopher, a man broken by fear, and of Biddy, a woman consumed by rage. You look at the compass in your hand, then back at Elias. "I found what I was looking for," you say softly. He scoffs, a bitter, humorless sound. "And what's that? An empty chest and a story that would get us hanged or laughed out of any tavern from here to Tortuga?" Quote, "I found my father," you reply. "I found out why he smelled of the sea in fear. I found the choice he made." That's a treasure you can't spend, Elias, but it's one you can live by. Quote, "He is silent for a long time, the only sound, the sigh of water against the hull." "My father was a cooper," he says eventually, his voice barely a whisper. "A good man. He wanted me to learn the trade. Said there was honor in making something that holds things together. I thought he was a fool. I wanted the sea. I wanted adventure." He looks down at his own hands, calloused and scarred, not from making barrels, but from a life of running and fighting. Maybe he was the wise one after all. It is a confession, an admission of a shared truth. You are both the children of men who understood the value of a quiet life, a lesson you had to learn at the edge of the world. You clap him gently on the shoulder, a gesture of understanding that needs no further words. From that moment on, a different kind of peace settles over the Sea Witch. It is the peace of acceptance. Cale remains an enigma. He works, he watches, and he waits. The day before you sight the coast of the Carolinas, he approaches you as you stand your watch at the bow. He holds out his hand. You place the Blackheart coin into his palm. "This belongs to the sea now," he says, his voice a low rumble. He draws his arm back and, with a powerful flick of his wrist, sends the coin spinning out over the waves. It catches the morning light for a single, brilliant instant before the ocean swallows it without a trace. "My debt to Sterling is paid," he says. "My debt to you is this." He places a small, heavy leather pouch in your hand. Inside is a collection of Spanish gold coins, enough to repair the Sea Witch and buy Elias 1,000 bottles of his favorite rum. From the Nix, a captain's emergency cash. It is not treasure, it is payment. For the passage. And for the lesson. What lesson, you ask? He looks out at the horizon, a faint line of land now visible. That the greatest prize is knowing when to walk away from the table. He gives you that same single sharp nod he gave you after the storm, then turns and walks away. You know that when you reach Charleston, he will melt back into the shadows from whence he came, another ghost in a city full of them. You arrive at Charleston Harbor under the cloak of a moonless night, slipping into the shipyard like a whisper. The Sea Witch, battered and scarred, looks like just another forgotten vessel at the rotten end of the docks. You have come full circle, back to the place where it all began. The air hangs thick and familiar, tasting of salt and tar, but it feels different now. It is the air of home. Elias, with his pouch of gold and a new, weary wisdom in his eyes, clasps your hand. "Be well, D. O'Brien," he says, and for the first time, he uses your name like a title, a mark of respect. He will fix his ship, and he will sail again, but you know he will never again chase a story that glitters. You step onto the pier. The groaning wood, a familiar welcome. You make your way not to your old cottage. It is a ghost now, part of a life that is no longer yours, but toward the water's edge. The city is asleep, but the harbor is alive, the dark water sighing and slapping against the mossy pilings. This is the sound that is etched into your soul. You walk past the old sail loft, a dark, silent monument to your own folly and your own rebirth. You feel no anger, no regret, just a quiet sense of distance, as if you are looking at a scene from someone else's life. You find a spot at the very end of a deserted pier and sit, letting your legs dangle over the black water. You pull out the compass. In the faint pre-dawn light, you watch its needle. It doesn't point to some distant jungle-choked island. It doesn't point to a cavern of gold. It points to the solid wood of the pier beneath you. It points to the city at your back. It points to where you are. You have reached your heart's desire. You don't have a shilling to your name. You have no boat, no home. By all measures, you are more ruined now than you were the night of the auction, but you are not ruined. You are whole. The spontaneous, friendly fisherman is still there, but she is tempered now, her spirit forged in a storm and cooled in the waters of wisdom. You are no longer just a fisherman. You are a story. You are the woman who found Blackheart's treasure and left it behind. You are the daughter of Fionn O'Malley, and you have honored his choice. The first rays of dawn begin to touch the sky, turning the water from black to gray to a soft, shimmering silver. The tide is turning, bringing with it the scent of the open ocean, of endless possibility and ancient secrets. The ocean whispers, as it always has, but you are no longer just listening to its stories. You are one of them now. A quiet smile touches your lips. You close your eyes, take a deep breath of the salt air, and for the first time since you can remember, you feel truly, completely at peace.